Wow, it works. Okay. All right. So for this marathon, what's a marathon? Okay, so we're going on the second part of the marathon now. Remember, you can write down your questions, and I am very happy to answer your questions. I think talking to people is only one way, but it's much more interesting if we can have a dialogue, talk backwards and forwards. So I will try to make some space at the end so we can talk together. Okay, Kayma? Okay, write down your questions, and so we have some questions at the end. Okay, so the next one is called sustainable. Sustainable innovation. What is sustainable? Did you hear about green design? Research. Sustainable means can last for a long time. So it's the next, after green design is sustainable design. What is sustainable?
永续。永续。
谢谢. Okay, so this is sustainable innovation. So, in order to know what is sustainable, good sustainable innovation or design, you have to have an idea of what is a better world. You can't just make something you say, oh, this is technically sustainable. It has to also help people. It makes the world better. So the most important thing, do you remember in one of the first slides it said vision? Vision? What is a vision? A dream. To be a designer, or to be a business person, or to be an innovative engineer, you have to start with a dream of how you want to make the world better. That is your concept. That's the meaning. EE. Concept. I've forgotten. What is it called? 概念. You have to have an idea of why you are doing it. What kind of world you want to help to make. So, here are just some of the global challenges for your generation. Don't worry, I don't worry about it because I'm going to be dead. But you have to deal with it. If you know the United Nations, what's the United Nations? They made already 10 years ago a report about the future called the Report 2050. It's telling about what the world will look like. And it will look like that because there are certain things you cannot change. When you are my age, I'm 60, you're 20-something. In 2050 you will be my age. You will be finishing your career so you can retire one day when you're very old. The world in 2050 is a world of climate change. It's going to be hotter and colder in the winter times. Fewer resources. What we take from the earth, what we take from nature, is going to get less and less because there's less of it, because there are more human beings. Pollution. And the world becoming more and more city, more and more pollution, more and more ugly places, more and more destroyed nature. More and more old people, like me. Yeah. You will be old in 2050, and somebody will have to look after you, and you don't want it to be a robot. You know, in Taiwan we believe, oh, we can solve everything. In the technical university, we make just robots instead of human beings. Do you want to have a robot looking after you when you're my age? Yeah, I'm already very old, so I can't. So, social and cultural inequality. It means the rich have a lot and the poor have very little. You know, like in Taipei. Yeah? Very, very rich, like somebody who's running to be mayor in Taipei. Yeah? He's very, 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 very rich. And he moved from his house so people wouldn't believe he's so rich. The guy, Mr. Yen. Yeah? And then normal people are getting poorer and poorer. And in 2050 we'll be even richer and even poorer. Overpopulation. Today, how many billion people are in the world today? Billion. I've forgotten what that's called in Chinese. How many billion people in the world today? 5 billion people. In 2050 will be 7 billion people. And it's not going to change. You know, even if we have a lot of illness and a lot of disasters, still there will be almost 7 billion people, because already we are ahead. There are more people than we expected already. And that means overconsumption. It means we're buying and using too much. So designers and engineers and marketing people and managers, we cannot go on making so much trash as we're making now. Products that only last. You know, the first mobile phone I had was in 1993 or something. And it lasted, it still can make a phone call. But there's no internet, there's no network for that phone anymore. But it still works. This phone is dying and it's 1 year old. And people say, oh, it's already 1 year old. Wow, how old? You buy a computer, you don't expect it to last for more than 2 years. But you're only using it for Word and for internet and for some photos and some movies and some music. Why does it only last for 2 years? We are making too many things which die too quickly. And that's business, as to make the profit. But it's not going to make a better world. It's not going to make a world that you want to live in when you are my age. Can you go on? Okay. So, but the biggest problem, the biggest challenge is not technology. And it's not function. We can do everything we want. The biggest problem is our culture. Is our habits, our customs, our mindset, our attitude. Whoops. What's attitude? Does anybody know what is attitude? 态度. Was that right? Yeah. Okay. You know, it's like, okay, it's 26 degrees. Let's put on the 24 degrees. We need lunch. Or do we wait until it's 27 degrees? Or do we wait until it's 28 degrees? Where is our expectation of comfort? If we use an air conditioner, it makes outside hotter. To be colder inside, it means it's made hotter outside. So we live in a big city like Taipei, everybody puts on the air conditioner, Taipei becomes hotter. So how do we make this balance? When do we say we need to have our expectation of comfort means that we have to put on the air conditioner at what? And where is our breaking point? Our values, what do we think is important? What is not important? In other words, our whole worldview. And this is called an ethos. Ethos is a very important word for design. It means our value set of what, not only what we believe in, but what we do. Oh, I believe everybody should be green, except me, because I want to be comfortable. So it's what we do is our ethos. Our principles, our ideals, that's one thing. But what we do is something else. So this is a picture from China. And this is e-waste. E-waste is what is left when your computer dies. They send it somewhere and people take out all the valuable things, and this is all the plastic parts that are left. Into the countryside where people are poor, they have no other job. We send our e-waste there, they take it to pieces, the children playing with poisonous things. That is our responsibility. When you throw away your computer in your rich society, you send it somewhere else to pollute, to make pollution somewhere else. I used to live in Denmark. Denmark is a beautiful, clean country. Why? Because we send all our pollution to China and India and Africa. It can be beautiful and clean there because we send it somewhere else. We don't make anything anymore. We send it, it's made in Guangzhou. And in Guangzhou, you can't see in front of you because it's so polluted. We don't share the responsibility for the mess that we're making. So, we have this thing called recycle, reuse, reduce. It's not very useful. What we need to do is to rethink. We have to protect the environment. We have to use less resources. We have to make sure that everybody has a good life. And we have to make sure that equity, it means sharing equally. Equity means share equally. That means we have to have an ethos, we said. We have to dare to rethink things, to be fair to people, to share profit, and to care about the planet. Now, I told you about crowdfunding. It means if you support a project, you will also get a profit. Today, a company who makes something, they don't share with anybody. They share the profit with themselves. In the future, people will share the value of what they create. You create a mess, you create problems. You create good things, you will share the profit. So, ethics is about respecting other people. Economy is redistributing, sharing the wealth that we have. So there are not very rich people and very poor people. And we have to rebuild the planet on which we live. We have to regenerate the ecology. Ecology is environment. Here's a product that we designed for a company called Lavender Cottage. It says, I can never say it. I can't say the word, but this is in Chinese. So what we did for them was to make their herbal products, to repackage, to do the new bottles, and to make the whole idea of how they should make their marketing, what should be the values that they share with other people. When you go there, what do people go to find? Who are these people? What are they sharing with you? That is the most important thing that a company can stand for nowadays, is what they want to share with other people. If you think of a company like GE, which is a very, very big company in the world, but it's American, their first concern is not profit, is to make the technology of the future that will help to make a better world. It is really every single project that they take the evaluation. Is this going to make a better world in the future? And that's why that company is extraordinary. And that's why it's growing. Whereas the companies in Taiwan who don't have any values, they're disappearing. So, I told you about the steps from OEM to ODM to OBM. The next two steps. This is original strategy. What is a strategy? Yeah, to have a strategy. Not just to be making money, but to have a strategy for how the future should be, future conscious. And ESG means environmentally sustainable governance. It means looking after the earth. It looks looking after nature, looking after the world we live in. That is the new OBM. If you ask a company like GE, what are they doing? This is what they're doing. This is the leading edge, the front, the forefront, the limit of what people are thinking about today. And it's going to create a whole new world and a whole new business and a whole new way of doing design. So this is about creating business. This is about creating culture. This is about creating futures. That's really exciting. It means that as design students or engineering students or managing, what you are really doing to creating the future of this country. Not only of this country, but also of this region, of part of what Taiwan can contribute to the world. So, this at the bottom is the way that the international economists, people who work with money, they call natural economy. That means making agriculture, growing food, and things like that. Manufacturing economy, service economy, and the new ones, which you can read books about experience economy, and finally the creative economy, which is the future. So that means that we have agriculture, OEM, ODM, and the next step in a country like Denmark or Norway or New Zealand or Australia or Canada, Holland. These countries have a plan to become design societies by the year 2020. Between 2020 and 2025, those countries have an idea that everything they do should be designed. Design means thinking before making, considering the consequences, the responsibility of what they're doing. So every part is carefully thought out before you do it. Here, you can see focus, product, the process of doing things, the people who are using them, the policies, in other words, the government regulation, whether we, for example, in Sweden, you get, and in England, UK, you get a special tax for carbon. It means if you drive your car too much, you have to pay extra tax. And if you drive too much, you have to stop using your car. Because that is the rule in Sweden or in England. In Taiwan, we can drive as much as we like, we can make as much pollution as we like, but it will end one day. One day, unless you're using an electric car, which you can be sure that the electricity is not creating pollution, then you will have to pay a bigger tax. If you are driving a Porsche SUV, which is 5 liters, and making a lot of pollution, driving 5 kilometers for 1 liter of gas, you will pay a lot of tax. But if you are driving a car which uses very little, that's different. So that's about policy making. And this is the society we are beginning to live in. I call it a blue hybrid economy. Blue hybrid, what is that? We use it about cars. Blue hybrid. Benz, Nissan, Toyota, they all make blue hybrids. What's a blue hybrid? Some guy, come on. What is a blue hybrid? Did you see, when Toyota, you can see a normal Toyota and you can see a hybrid that has a blue background. The brand. What is a hybrid? It means a mixture. It means part petrol or gas, part electric. The brand. This is the society we're living in. In Iban. We are living 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the future. So we are hybrid society, hybrid economy. 听得懂吗? Okay, that's very, very exciting because we haven't moved the whole way yet. So we haven't decided where we're going to put this foot. And that is what you do in design, is to decide where is that foot going to go. So you decide, this is very important. When most of our career, David, Yang, Dr. Yang and myself, most of our career, there was no big decisions about the direction of the future. But you have very, very big decisions. What you decide is going to decide the direction of the future. 听得懂吗? Because we are already leaving the old, but we haven't decided the new. And that's what innovation means. Innova. Nova means new. Making new. Innovation is to make the new things. Okay, so here, in this time, CSR means corporate social responsibility. It means that companies have to be responsible for what they do. Even in Taiwan, companies If they make pollution, they have to pay a fine. Or they even have to close. What is happening about the oil, the eating oil, is a big scandal. It's because the companies before were not responsible for what they did. But now we're making them responsible. This already happened in the US and in Europe 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's going to happen here, very seriously. People have to be responsible for what they make. That means the profit motive is ending. The prosperity motive is starting. Prosperity means that everybody has an okay life. Prosperity means the wealth of the society, not the wealth of people. 听得到吗? I'm sorry, there's so much complicated English, but I expected you to be able to understand. I cannot tell you this is simple. Design is not simple. Innovation is not simple. The future is not simple. If I told you only the simple answers, I would not be telling you the truth. It's shinku, shinku, shinku. And it's mathan, mathan, mathan. It's not to pass the exams easily. It's to make a better future. If it was easy to make a better future, we would have done it already. It requires creative, innovative, thinking people, and that's you. What is the project? The project is to make the effort, to do the work. Not only the doing part, but the thinking part of creating the future. That is your project. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. Okay, I'm going to do this. This is a little helping. It's called a design traffic light. Semaphore. Design traffic lights. It will help you to know how to look at your projects. Next step design method is that we have two kinds of design. We already have one called green design. This is things that can continue into the future. Red design is things that should stop now. Now, these things are solutions that are environmentally friendly, better than what we have been doing up till now. It means, better windmills, better cars, mobile phones that use less energy, refrigerators, 冰箱 that use less energy. These are technical solutions. Red design is things that we could stop doing if we changed our habits and our expectations. These are cultural solutions. It means if we decide, I can switch off my air conditioning, even I feel it's still hot, I can switch it off. That is changing your attitude. This is culture. These things make products with smaller impact than the existing ones. These ones reduce the amount that we use. This is consumption. If we using more things, we create more problems. But we can stop these things by culture, changing our culture. The attitude here, what was attitude? 态度. Change our environment to fit ourselves. That is how we have been living. The attitude here is change ourselves to fit to our environment. Environment, nature. Okay? Here we change nature to fit to us. Here we change ourselves to fit to nature. Here is to have a smaller negative impact. What is impact? It means how we affect the world. Impact. Huh?
冲击.
Okay. Impact is how we measure good design. Impact. We don't say it's beautiful anymore. We don't say it's efficient anymore. We say, what impact does it have? How much did we take from nature? How much did we destroy to make this thing and to use this thing? So here we have a greater positive impact. This is by technical engineering, this is by cultural communication. Now, what is very, very interesting is that to do this requires a huge cost. It costs so much to make new things, technical things. It's very slow. How long did it take to go from the first Prius in Taiwan to have many hybrid cars in Taiwan today? It took 10 years. And it took Toyota a lot of money to do it. The impact of these cars is very small, because still, even though we maybe have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 hybrid cars in Taiwan today, still most of our pollution is coming from old cars. Even the biggest problem, can you imagine, in Taiwan, in the world, 40% of all gas used by cars is used at traffic lights. Waiting at traffic lights uses 40% of all gas used by cars. So if you make a better car that uses 5% less gas, it's only 35%. Because 35% is used in stupid traffic systems. 听得到吗? So the impact of technical solutions is very small, very slow, and the cost is huge. But changing people's attitude, the cost and effort is very small. You can just make a CF on TV. How quickly people understand, very, very quickly, the speed of internet, and the impact is huge. So, sorry, I think I went too fast. In between red and green, we have amber, that's the yellow color of the track, Hong Yu Dan. This is what the policies, what is a policy? Is the law, the rules, the law. It's what they decide in the government. Yeah? Policy, what's policy? Okay. 政策. Okay, so we cannot do anything without changing the rules. So here we have things that should stop now. Change people. Creative culture. Change policies. Regulate. Stop the things which are going to be bad. Make new rules for the future so that we produce a neutral impact. It means that your life does not destroy anything. Responsible to the future. Change things that can go forward, that's technology. Things reduce the negative impact of what we do. Sustainable technology. So, when you want to create, you have to change life, change the way we live, to create a neutral footprint. What is a footprint? What's a carbon footprint? Huh? Yeah, that is the goal of good design, is to create for every human being a neutral footprint. It's a completely different way of judging what is good design. Good design before is one that makes a lot of money for the company who makes it. In the future, good design is one which has a neutral footprint. So, what is advanced design? Next generation. Here, we have our intention. Intention is what we hope we can do. Here is the effort to do it. That's the green design. Here is how it changes people's attitudes and life, culture. That's the red design. In the middle is the effort, how much trouble, how much marathon we have to do it. And this is the impact design for life. So, to have very good intentions, everybody can have good intentions. But to have a very good, small impact, to have a big impact on people's lives and a small impact on nature, that's very difficult. So, it has to be feasible. Feasible means it can be done. It has to be desirable. We have to have an idea. Does this fit to our dream? Is this the kind of society, the kind of world you want to live in when you are 60 years old? And can it be done? Is there a real reality in the business? So there's acceptable intentions, fair values, and can be done. So this is the thinking part, this is the doing part. Here is a project of one of my friends in Denmark. He made this project 10 years ago. And he decided one day that the biggest problem he could find in the world was clean drinking water for everybody. More children die of bad water in the world than of any other reason. But it's not in Taiwan, it's in Africa, South America, Indonesia, poor places where they don't have clean water. And he made something he called a life straw. It took him 6 years of continuous hard work and his own money. He was an engineer. He decided this project will make my life worth it. This has meaning, EE. So he made this so you can drink any water, anytime, anywhere, it will be clean. Nobody paid for it. It's something he decided to do. This, he got a prize in 2005, the Index Design, which is a design, it's like a Nobel Prize for design, because in Denmark, and you get the prize for a project which has positive impact on nature and positive impact on people's lives. So you can see this really changed people's lives, because before they have to carry the water, boil the water. They have to maybe carry the water 20 or 30 kilometers. Then they have to boil the water. Then they can drink the water. Here, you can just go and drink. And they make them also for house. So you can have enough clean water so everybody in the house can have clean. So, this is a new way. Use less. The effect is positive. The impact, less environmental impact, that's the negative. If this divided by this is bigger than 1, you have a good design. If you consume more and you take more from nature, if you use more and you take more from nature, it will be less than 1. That's a bad design. Use less, take less will give you positive. Continue as we are now, it will always be less than 1. So, creativity is based on knowledge. You have to know, you cannot guess. You cannot say, oh, I think. You have to do the research. You have to know how. You have to add to that, dare to think of big ideas that change life. Make it meaningful. Plus, formulate an agenda. It means have a plan. Have a dream and have a plan for the next 10 years. Then what you do as students, what you do as young designers will be useful and meaningful. Start with human values. It's got to be sustainable. It has to be able to last. It's got to include everybody. It's got to have pluralistic. It means many opinions. And it's got to be connected between the designer and all the people who are ever going to use your product and to do together. So if you dare to care about people, if you have clear principles, it means what is important to you. If you are brave to change the rules, if you share the planet fairly so that all can have a good life, the future is full of promise. Here, you can see here's something I have for my students. They are sophomore students, first year or second year students in the Chaoyang, in Taichung, they use this one. Here, you combine a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and you evaluate your mission, your vision, your tactics, your operations, how you make things, so you can find out how to make these things work better. That's improve. How to use your strengths to have better direction. Find the opportunities to change things so a better future. And at the same time, for the present, you have to make things which still are good business for the people who make them. If the business is not profitable, there is no future. You have to make designs which people will buy today but will make a better future. So here's efficient. Efficient, what is use less resources, use less energy. Environmental, they come from outside. These are the things, how you affect the world around you. Creativity and knowledge. Have a strategy, take action. Think better about how to change the world. Do better about making better things. They've got to work better, they've got to be more attractive, they've got to make a smaller impact, and they've got to make a difference to people's lives. So, final, think new, that's creativity. Think different, that's originality. Think better, that's innovation. Understand better, imagine more, deeper knowledge. Make a difference, that's human values. Care more, that's Taiwan soft values. That is what's important, is that you develop Taiwan soft values. What's soft values? Taiwan soft
软
values.
实力。
Okay. Okay, so okay, we still have some time for some questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for questions. You can ask about anything you like. It doesn't have to be in here, but don't ask me any personal questions. Yeah. Okay. When I first came to Taiwan, my master degree class, I said, don't ask me any personal questions. 老师, how old are you? Don't worry. There's one amazing, wonderful thing about design. There is no right answer. There are no right answers. It means in Taiwan, if you are a designer, you are a very special person, because every other study, there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. But in design, all answers are good answers if they can solve a problem. So, any question is a good question because it questions something. And if you're questioning something, you're thinking. So, doesn't matter if other people think your question is stupid. I will not think it's stupid.
I want to ask you the vision store.
Yes.
How's it going now?
I can tell. All right. This is a wonderful story. Because this husband and wife, they also have a brother and a sister-in-law. And they all stop their job and they make wish stones. And they all can live from making wish stones. And selling the book, and selling the story, and telling people how to change their life. So yeah, it's successful. The product, making a story, and making a real product which has real meaning. It changed their lives, and it changes. The product is very successful.
So it's on sale?
Oh, it's in sale. You can buy it in a bookstore, in a department store, yeah. And you can buy it online. And I get no profit. I just got my design fee. Yeah. You see, they took a risk. They took a real risk. They put their money from their old business into a new idea. The whole family gave up their jobs, and now they can live from something new because they took the risk. They could have failed as well, but that's not my business.
From your presentation, what I've gotten is that we should all give back more than we take.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
But at the same time, the economy, the world economy, is still a capitalistic economy. So it's based on money.
Uh-huh.
And if we pour all the like the couple that you mentioned, obviously the family members are very well. But if the profit that they take or they make, if they can pour more of that money into other projects that's more beneficial to society, would that be your ideal sort of the future society of what we should do?
That's a very good question. What the basic question is, innovative entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are people who start new business. Those are the people who take risks and who make new things. That is why the new social media, crowdsourcing, co-creativity, all of these new environments which are coming up over the world, around the world, are so important because everybody can participate, take part in creating new things. There will always be a business aspect because there has to be some motive of success. That is, I think, is basically human. That's why Russia and China, they stopped being communist countries, because they realized people had no motive, personal motive, to make a better world. They had to have a financial or some kind of success motive to make them want to improve. But once you find that people who start new businesses, they don't start just one business. They end up starting 50 or 100 new businesses. And some fail, and some are successful. And that, I believe, is a very, very good question, and it's very, very relevant, because what has been wrong in design up till now is that designers take no part in the success or failure of the project. They are not investing in the project. They just do the design, get their fee, and leave. But in a world where the designer has to invest in the design, to take responsibility for the success of the design, as in the old days with royalty, you get a percentage. But in Taiwan, you can never get a royalty. You can never get 5% from your project, because you can never trust the company to pay you the money. If you have a well-regulated system where the designer has to be responsible for the success or failure of the project, if it's successful, they get money. If it fails, they lose money. Then you have a very healthy system. Is that an answer to your question?
It does, but at the same time in reality, it does, but at the same time in reality, even then companies or individuals, they profit. They profit from everything, but they don't necessarily give back as much as I would think. I think at least the vibe I'm getting is sort of an Ethiopian type of society.
Well, look, let's put it this way. In the future, we are judging each other. Already on Facebook or Line or other social media, people are judging each other. They're sharing information. If they think somebody's doing something wrong somewhere, there's a social pressure on that person. to change their behavior. And maybe that is the most difficult but important aspect of the new social media, is that it's a new social pressure to conform to certain new values. I don't think the sunflower movement in Taiwan, here in Taipei, would have been so successful if people had not, it helped them to dare to step forward, that they knew there were thousands of other people stepping forward. If they believe that I'm stepping forward and I'm standing for something that my parents don't agree, and the school doesn't agree, and the government doesn't agree, then people won't do it. But if you're thousands of people who are connected by internet, by social media, and you can dare to step forward, that's a big, big change. But at the same time, maybe afterwards the people say, well, why didn't you join? So there's also a pressure. There's giving courage and self-confidence, but there's also a pressure of controlling, so that new values can be, you can feel. There are companies, big companies in the world, who have to change their behavior because it gets in the social media that they did wrong things. You understand what I'm meaning?
I do, but at the same time, the big companies, the established companies, are the ones that's giving pressure. One example I can think of right now is Tesla.
Yeah.
It's shaking up the auto industry, but at the same time they're facing sort of not competition, but policy-wise, government policy that's pressuring them or forcing them not to be able to do business in certain areas. So isn't it sort of the established company that's making more money preventing these innovations and so forth?
Well, as we were in the taxi on the way here, this is always a question. Change and stability. Society needs to be stable, so they are against change. But we need change because the world around us is changing. So it's a balance. It has to be gang gang hao. If it's too fast, you are taking a big risk. If it's too slow, you will lose. So you have to be very careful as a country, as a society, to follow in the front of the pack, but not lead. As a country, you cannot take too much risk, otherwise the country might fail. Like Korea, twice in 10 years, their economy collapsed. So they took too much risk. But Taiwan doesn't take enough risk, so we are losing. Shall we find another question? Okay? Do we have any other questions? Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, do you think that sustainable innovation design can cross the cultures? I mean, how different cultures adopt at the same time the cultural changes to get better results? Because this is not for a special group of people. I mean, it sounds like they are designed for all the world, all the people in the world.
Well, look.
But it's so different to people think different, and we are so different cultures and traditions in English.
That's why when you start any project, the first question is for who, when, and where. Then you can always find how, when, and where to change something for those people. But if you make a technology which just applies to everybody, everywhere, then it will not be culturally fit. It will not fit to the culture. So for example, if you make a solution for Taiwan and you try to move to Iceland, Bingdao, it will not fit. Or if you make something in Ecuador and you expect people in Indonesia to use it, maybe it won't work. But the whole idea of sustainable design is it's not about, it's both changing the technology and the culture at the same time. It's like the culture of some leading companies like Nvidia or GE or even Samsung. They change the way that they are thinking before they change the way that they're making the products. I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
But you told about the better future, and I see the better future like a better world. And it's all people's responsibility. It's not just a specific group person.
There are always people who have bigger dreams than other people. Most people, most of your friends, I'm sure they say, I'm satisfied to live the life I live, but I want to be a designer. If you want to be a designer, it means you want to change something. Because design is always about change. It can be very small changes, or it can be big changes. What I'm talking about today is that some of the changes we need are very big, because we cannot continue the way we have been going. So designers as a group in society, in a culture, must take more responsibility because they know how to make change. It's what you learn in the university is not just is how to make change. Everybody can have a dream, but not everybody knows how to make it come true. That is our job. The job of design is to know every step from the dream all the way to making it in a machine. That is our job. The skills that you have are skills of knowing how. But before you have to know what you want to change and why you want to change it. Then you can find out how to do it. Does that make sense to you? Comprende? Okay.
For example, if one furniture company they want to launch the furniture for elderly people to the other country, just Singapore or China, it belong the China culture. If the design, if just your company, before you design your product, before what kind of research about the market or segment analysis? What do you do? Thank you.
Well, one of the problems that we have in design, is some very, very old-fashioned ways. We have some very... Maybe it's because it's because they're two on at the same time, so they're fighting each other. Okay, we have some very old ideas about the reasons why to make products. If we have a furniture factory and we want to sell to China or Singapore, it's not a way of thinking of segments or markets, but a way of thinking about people. Before, we use these methods from marketing, where people say, oh, I am designing for girls between the age... He doesn't want to listen anymore. Girls between the age of 25 and 35. That's nonsense. People are not in a box. Everybody, you have to think of what you want to give to other people, not to whether you can make something that fits to a particular existing group. It's complete nonsense to divide people up and say, oh, girls of, between the age of 16 and 22, they all like pink. You have to think, what kind of chairs don't exist in the market that you cannot buy a chair which is comfortable for this function? You have to find something, a place which there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of furniture factories in the world making furniture which is all identical. So how are you ever going to survive making just one more chair, which is the same as everybody else's chair? You have to think of, oh, there has to be an idea behind the chair, which is a better chair for people. Chinese chairs usually use much too much wood, and they have to be sold in a box, which is this size, which has to go in a container. In the West, a new chair, a really good chair, uses less and less material, less wood, less metal, less plastic, because we can understand how to make this function more efficient. The structure is a better thought, it's a better engineering. It's not a question of making a beautiful or ugly or Chinese or Western chair. It's a question of how to make a chair which uses less energy to make, less resources to build, and can travel with using less energy. Sorry, that was a mosquito. So, if you can make a chair which you can tell people, this chair has a very small impact, oh, they will think, that's great. Finally, a chair which is not so wasteful. So I am sitting on a chair which has less impact. Then you have a story, and then people will think it's interesting. And then they will tell each other about it on the social media. Oh, this chair is a wonderful chair because it does something new. But just to find, some user group, some consumer group in China or Singapore, that's not going to give you success.
Okay. I would like to explain to our young generation. Since innovation, creating value, and social responsibility is the main trend for the future. And in Taiwan, for the elder generation, I think we have to forget it. But as young generation, actually the information knowledge input not too much difference in Denmark, German, and Taiwan. But actually today, the attitude about social difference.
Yes.
So can you explain how they generate the social responsibility in Europe and get the reference for the local community?
Okay, this question is the most important question. It's what can you do? What am I? Oh, this is red, so it must be very important. What and how can you make the changes that I am talking about? As I said earlier in this lecture, getting together, working together, especially working designers with engineers, with marketing people, with management people, with manufacturing people, making interdisciplinary teams. Make a project, find all the people all the knowledge, all the expertise that you need to make this successful is the new work method. It means you are not a star. You're not working alone. You're not going to be famous. You're maybe not even going to be rich. You are just one person in a creative team. That is called co-creativity, collaborative, working together creativity. Now, in Taiwan, we have a culture that everybody looks after themselves. And you don't share your ideas with other people. But the truth is that you can be much more creative if somebody else can say, oh, did you think of this? Did you hear about that? Did you see this? If everybody is looking at the same thing and improving it. You have to give up what is called authorship. It means that it's your idea. You have to give up the idea that you can become rich from this idea alone. So you can get that Porsche or that Lamborghini or that big house or that whatever. The idea is that the project is more important than the people. Quite obviously, just as I said in this lecture, you have to have a profit, but you also have to have ideals, prosperity. That means a shared, better life. So everybody in the project has to get something from the project, but you have to give more than you get. Otherwise, it can never grow. It's like if you want a plant to grow, you have to give it all the things it needs to grow. If you are only one person looking after a big tree, it will die. But if you are many people contributing, it will grow. But you have to give more than you get. That is a changed attitude that you can find in many, many countries around the world. People are prepared to give more than they get. Here, everybody wants something for themselves, and that is a change of attitude. But you can see, what I'm sure is that from my teaching in Taiwan for 10 years, is that everybody individually has some dream. Everybody has some hope, but they don't know how to share it with other people. That's why I use the example of the sunflower movement. If you start a project, if you dream of a project and you put out the project and say, this is the idea, who is interested in the idea? You will find there are many, many other people who have the same dream, and they are prepared to contribute, to work together to make it come true. We have an expression in English, it says, don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel is what you have on a bicycle or a car. It's been invented for 10,000 years. Don't do it again. Another idea is that people say, well, we need new marks in Taiwan. And I want to make the new mark. But you will find it's much, much easier to join an existing project than to start a new one, because there's something called critical mass. You have to have a certain number of people working together in the same direction to make something happen. When Dr. Yang and I were young, there were very few designers. So some of those designers can become stars, and they all work alone. But nowadays, everybody works together. And the old education system in Taiwan is not creative, because it asks you to repeat what we already know. To pass the exam, you have to repeat what the teacher told you. Since you start school at the age of 5 or 6 years old, you have to repeat, and never to think. Because if you think, you answer the question too slowly. And even if the teacher tells you the wrong answer, you have to repeat the wrong answer, otherwise you will fail. We have every year in the exams for the high school, we have a wrong question in the exam. And the ones who went to the cramming school, they passed the exam because they give the wrong answer. But the students who think about the question, they fail. It's true. So, design is always about new answers, changing things. So you have to become people of change, people of new answers. It means you have to ask new questions and dare to ask questions. I'm sure most of you know the TV program channel called Discovery. Discovery Channel, it says every time, ask the question everything. In Taiwan, we have to add to that, question everyone. Also your teacher, also the people who wrote the book, also the people who write the laws, also everybody, your parents, your classmates, you have to question everything and everybody, because you have to find new answers. Otherwise, the world and Taiwan. Okay, is that? Yeah. I think my time is up.
The social responsibility is the core. To ask you about the social responsibility of the younger generation. So compare the difference with Western in Taiwan.
Okay.
How they generate.
Okay. Look. What the question is
the cultural background.
yeah, what it is the West has a long history, a long culture that improving things, making things better is the purpose of life. Western people really, what drives them is to do something better. What drives Taiwan is to survive. If it works, it's good enough. That's why Taiwan industry is going down, because they didn't change the business model for 30, 40 years. Most of Taiwanese industry and manufacturing are using the same business model, the same thinking that made the success 30, 40 years ago. And if they can't do it in Taiwan anymore because it's too expensive, then they go to China. And when it's too expensive to do in China, they go to Vietnam. And when it's too expensive in Vietnam, they go to Cambodia. I can't remember what Cambodia is called in Chinese. Cambodia. That is the new place for Taiwanese to go, because they can't do it anymore in Taiwan. But they didn't change their thinking, because if it works to make success 30 years ago, well then it must be good enough to make success somewhere else today. But it doesn't make success in Taiwan. We have nothing to do in the future, because there's no new business. So, the idea that the Western idea that you have everybody, especially designers, have to improve things. This is the key point. It's not to improve your own money in the pocket. It's to improve something. Art, or music, or products, or something. That is what drives Western people, and the big, big difference between Americans, Europeans, and Taiwanese. I'm sorry to say, but really, that is the key point of design. Design is always about improving something. And unless it improves something, it's not a good design. In other words, don't do it. So, the question was social and cultural responsibility. It means that every person in this room has to take responsibility for what they make in their life. Just as I am 60 years old, I look back on all the things I made and did in my lifetime, and I can say, well, I made a lot of money for this company, and I made a lot of money for this company, and I made a lot of money for this company. But the best thing I ever did was teaching. Because then I can share my ideas with you, and then maybe you can change something in the future. 谢谢。
好，我们今天很难得是他一生累积经验，到台湾这10多年来都贡献在台湾的产业跟台湾的社会。尤其今天的演讲，我觉得是对我们年轻人怎么样能够把我们的社会、我们的产业改变为意识，我们怎么改变观念？我用一句话，大家有空可以上网。那个 Michael Porter 他提到一句话是 ：The path forward， 在全世界往后产业跟经济往前走的路线，应该是 creating shared value， 怎么样创造 大家能够分享的价值。刚才他后面我所问他解的话，希望我们能够参考西方，怎么样以整个社会人类的需求，来为人类、为社会，用我们的创造力、这门课的设计、创新的能力，能够为社会做点事情，为大家创造价值。当我们创造价值的时候，当我们本身也能够分享到我们创造的结果，包括从实际的金钱方面，也包括我们对社会贡献、创新、创造出来所得到的本身的成就感。那我们最后再感谢 Mr. Lowy。